Hello, Roger.
Hey there.
Good to see you.
You
To meet
too?
finally.
Great, thank you.
So I don't know where we're going to start, but I thought a good place would be. I came across your column, your daily
Any advice for today?
advice for today, which I was really into, and I've started reading the daily stuff, and just wanted to understand a little bit of the history of that, how that started, and why you decided to do that.
I decided to do it because I was introduced to the idea, which is called automatic writing, some 30 or so years ago, probably even more than that, but it was still too scary for me to do it. But anyway, now that I talk about it, I think a lot of things I've done in my life, I get to a place where I'm just scared and I don't know what else to do, so let me find something. And this was a particular time in my life where it was actually, 30 years. It was 1988, as a matter of fact. I was making a transition. I was starting to coach. And I was scared to death because I had no money. I didn't know where I was going. I had never done this before. I go, what am I doing? This is crazy. And so I remember sitting at home and I was reading an article in some business magazine, and it was this guy saying that when he was in this place of complete stress, what he did was he found somebody talking about this meditation and automatic writing. He thought, I'll try it. All he did was just sit there and just have a piece of paper and pen and see what, if anything, would come through after he meditated. And so I had been exposed to many things like that, so this was not so weird to me. To him, he said it was a completely strange experience. He didn't know why the hell he would do it, but then he said he started doing it and information started coming through. So that's interesting. So I started it. I said, let me see what happens. And so I would sit there and do my meditation, which I had been doing anyway. I just never thought about the next level of actually writing something. And so I said, let's just see what happens. And then I sat there and days went by and I did my meditation. I had the paper and the pen, but I wasn't inspired to write anything. And then there was one day that I just sat there. I don't know what happened, but I felt like I was just hearing something. And what it was like was a particular sentence. When we meditate, there are always thoughts. There are things that are going on. I think people a lot of times think that we're not going to have any thoughts. That's not really possible. There are always thoughts, but what starts to happen as you calm down, the thoughts kind of slow down a bit. At least that's my experience. And so I recognize that I'm a much more auditory person to begin with. And so I would hear these sentences basically, and one would keep repeating over and over. And I thought, okay, I guess that's where I'm supposed to start. And so I just started writing. And then it felt like I was possessed because then when I started doing that, the words just kept coming. And it was a little disconcerting, I must say, in the very beginning. I mean, I sat there and I said, well, who's talking to me? That's really what it felt like to me.
How did you know that it was different from your own thoughts?
I didn't. In the beginning, the only thing that I knew was that it was something, because that one sentence would not go away. That's the way it started for me. And then as I started writing, I thought, I don't know where these words are really coming from. And then the other thing that would start to happen where I knew that it wasn't coming from me is that words were used that I wouldn't use in my normal vocabulary. And that was really interesting. And sometimes I would write words that I didn't even understand what they meant fully. And so I would go to the dictionary and look them up and then whenever I would do that, I would also see how perfect they were and why they were used, even though I didn't understand it as I was writing it.
Before the automatic writing would happen, did you have a specific question you were asking, or was it just...
In the beginning, I did. I stopped that after a while. That's why the site became known as Any Advice for Today. In the very beginning, I started asking questions, and they were good. I asked questions about very specific things that were going on in my life, and that I wanted to have the answers. And I thought, okay, this is kind of good. Except I also started to recognize that I'm a very controlling person, and I'm afraid of everything. I was afraid of the unknown. I didn't want to, and so I was trying to control this as well. I was trying to control the information that would come to me. Because what if I got something that was uncomfortable? I didn't want to know, and then, So me asking those specific questions was kind of keeping some information out. So I said, okay, I'm letting go of that. I'm letting go of control. I'm just going to see what comes to me. And then that's the only question I ever ask is, any advice for today?